Hello, it's Gareth. This is the Somewhere on Earth podcast, and my goodness me, it's Tuesday the 6th of February 2024, and we're in our London studio. And with us today for some expertise is Angelica Mari, all the way over there in Sao Paulo. And it's so nice to do this with you, Angelica. Always a pleasure, never a chore. And, well, how are you?
Hey, I'm great, thank you. I just got back from the Amazon. Man, it was a lovely trip. And I was just reminded how vast Brazil is.
Well, I mean, can you give me an idea of scale? Because you're in Sao Paulo. So that is south of Rio de Janeiro, to show my slight geographical knowledge there. So, yeah, any comparison about distance from where you are in Sao Paulo up to the Amazon?
Yeah, so I'm based in Sao Paulo. So from Belém in the Amazon region, which is one of the cities I was in, that's about 2,500 kilometers away. It's a bit like traveling from London to Lapland in Finland.
Wow, I love that comparator. But you didn't see any snow or Father Christmas, obviously, when you got there. Completely different environment. Even I know that. What kind of stuff were you doing up there then, Angelica?
I was there to learn how biotechnology, together with traditional knowledge, is being used to develop products like cosmetics based on the standing rainforest. So people have been learning how to earn more with the preserved rainforest rather than working on deforestation. So really interesting, fascinating.
It sounds like it. And did you come away with a good feeling about how that's panning out? Was this a bit of a PR job to try and convince everybody it's okay, or were you convinced?
Actually, it was quite an honest picture of where we are in that regard. I think it is a good promise, but it's something that takes a lot of time, and you can't force feed into all communities. So it takes time to learn how to do this, how to use tech to earn money from the preserved rainforest, and to preserve it, and to protect and to actually bring back some endangered species even. And but it's not a trivial process at all.
Well, what a trip. Thank you for bringing us up to speed on that, Angelica. Now, do you fancy a bit of somewhere else on Earth other than the Amazon?
Let's go for it.
Okay, let's do it. Here's the show. And coming up today, hundreds of people, most of them completely innocent, ended up in prison because the organisation for which they worked messed up in one of the biggest ever IT scandals. So what can firms learn when it comes to rolling out computer systems while not showing contempt for those who use them? Well, that's up for discussion today. And there's drama elsewhere. One of our listeners has actually written and recorded one. The subject matter? Well, only this podcast. It's all right here on the Somewhere on Earth podcast. So let's start with that tech outsourcing scandal. It's been going on for years in the UK. It's been news for years too, but it became really big news in recent weeks when it was dramatised on primetime TV in this country. In its sheer scale and shockingness, this is definitely up there with any big international IT scandal. It's the story of the UK Post Office and an IT system forced on the owners of small post offices or sub-post offices. The software messed up the bookkeeping and saw thousands of innocent postmasters and mistresses, sub-postmasters and mistresses actually, accused of false accounting and fraud. Hundreds even then went to prison. I told you it was bad. Now, if you're in India, you may have heard this story in your headlines because many of those wrongfully convicted had Indian backgrounds. The Post Office has been accused of using racist language in official guidance to investigators. Well, let's hear more now about the scandal, and then we'll go on to have a chit-chat about what IT companies can learn from it. Let's start with you, producer Anya, here in the studio. Can you just fill that out for us then. I've set the scene there. What did go wrong?
So Horizon software was the first electronic network till that the British Post Office used. This is known as EPOS, so the electronic point of sale system that replaced paper tills, streamlining accounting to apparently the push of a button. So the contract to develop and implement the system for not only the Post Office originally, but also the Benefits Agency in the Department of Social Security was awarded to a company called ICL Pathway Limited, which was majority owned by the Japanese company Fujitsu, which is why you keep hearing their name associated with this. By 1998, the project was 2 years behind schedule. Costs had spiralled upwards, and the Labour government at the time decided to scrap the benefits side of the project. Unfortunately, though, the software system was rolled out across British post offices, and it was plagued with problems, despite some of these problems being documented in early trials in 1999. So by 2001, hundreds of bugs had been found. For example, one would see the screen freeze at the point the operator was confirming the receipt of payment. Each time the operator pressed enter, the records would be updated without their knowledge. I'm sure you've done this before, Gareth, where you kind of think, oh, God, it hasn't worked. I'll press it again. And this all accumulated. In the post office in Dalmellington in Scotland, where the bug was first reported, it created a debt of £24,000 on the account. The post office then tried to hold the operator responsible. Another bug created duplicated transactions. Again, it was the post office operators sat behind the counters who were held.
So to say the least, the system was absolutely riddled with bugs. Were there any other issues?
Yes, quite simply, the software didn't meet the required standards. Despite the post office claiming that neither it or Fujitsu could edit the accounts, this was simply not true. They could access these accounts. This was later found. Horizon cost a total of $1.25 billion to install in 18,000 sub-post offices across Britain. More than 900 people were prosecuted, 700 convicted, 236 of those went to prison. Some took their own lives, others died before the scandal gathered so much press attention. Many others are still living under the shadow of false accusation. And in 2021, it was announced that a new system will replace Horizon.
Okay, Anya, thank you for that briefing there. Let's talk then to Susi O'Neill in the studio with us. She's a brand and marketing consultant, and she helps businesses to build trust. So that's quite a hint about why we've booked you for this interview, Susi. And also, we should say that you host the Insight Story Tech. I see what you've done there. Insight Story. So that's Insight Story, the Insight Story Tech Trends podcast. There, I've said it 3 times, so everyone's picked it up there.
Insight Story Tech Trends podcast.
You said it so much better. You probably say it more often than I do, don't you? Right, okay. Susi, obviously this was a complete horlicks for the post office. A textbook case of what not to do, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, what has really, really changed and brought this into the public realm, and I think a really interesting insight here is this was covered in the trade press. So Computer Weekly covered this quite frequently. It was covered in some of the niche and specialist and also some of the broadsheet and mainstream press. But it was only when it made it onto TV as a drama that people responded to it. And I think it created, for me, a very emotional response of how people feel about injustice, but also about technology. And I think for any of those listeners out there who've lived through the 90s technology, and I certainly, when I started to work, I experienced technologies like Word Perfect. I don't know if you remember that one. Where you have little boxes that you go and type things in. And it's that sort of flashback feeling of technology where you don't understand how it works and it feels beyond your control. And we were left feeling at the end of this experience also quite disempowered, and then seeing how these people working at the post office were treated by the state and the people that put their trust in. So for me, there was also some very big red flags about how users are treated in that journey. And in the inquiry that's going on at the moment, some of the judges said that they had dehumanized the users, so the workers who are using this technology. And there's an example of someone just recently who's starting to make their claim known, a lady called Teju Adedayo. And her family came from Nigeria. She went to work as a postmistress. She really believed in this British ideal of trust and justice and working for the post post office where you have pictures of the Queen and you're selling stamps at that time. And they accused her and forced her into confession, saying she'd stolen money, which she hadn't done, and she didn't have a lawyer. So, and people were very, very confused because they weren't trained properly how to use this technology. So that there's a lot of stuff there about not trusting your users. And when your users, or 900 of them in this case, are coming back and saying that this isn't working or this is not right, instead of saying, OK, we've got a serious problem here, before it got to 900, it was made to feel that because so much investment had been made in that technology, that the state couldn't say, no, we're going to abandon it, or we're going to go back and look, and we're going to go back and check and work with those users to work out what exactly has gone wrong in those cases. Yeah. So to me, that was one of the most startling and disturbing things that came through in the drama that was on television. It was just like how disempowered those users felt and how little they were trusted.
Yeah, many of whom were not particularly IT literate. You wouldn't expect them, especially at that time, to have been IT literate. And they're given the choice between going to prison or confessing, in inverted commas, to something for which they're not guilty, for which then, they have a smaller punishment than going to prison. So it was, and yet, of course, you had the post office, and Anya mentioned there Fujitsu, the company behind the software, and they both just claimed the systems were robust, didn't they? Even when it was becoming absolutely obvious, when investigative journalists had revealed how badly it was working, they still said, no, this stuff is working, it's robust.
And that was used a lot in the drama and in the reporting around it. But nowadays, you just wouldn't take that approach. You'd use things called agile methodologies if you were developing software. So you'd hopefully, if you were developing software well, you'd test it with a smaller user group and get their feedback. And that's really important for accessibility when we're talking about digital communications, that your users may have disabilities, or they may not know how to use some of the technologies and need excessive amounts of training or support. So not providing that support to the users, as well as not testing it, and then releasing a software that they knew had bugs in it as well. So there was lots of layers of really, I guess, institutional corruption within that. And I got some feedback today from a lady called Kat Keeley. She's a transformation consultant who's worked for the United Nations, a brilliant person who really understands organisational change. And she described it to me as systematic malaise, because basically you've got one bit of a corporate system, in this case Fujitsu, and in another case working with the post office, and they're all blaming each other possibly, or not taking ownership over the problems. And it should be a contract issue. If it's not working, it should go back to the contract and say, we've paid you this much money, you're going to fix it. Or we've agreed that you need to train those users and be there to support those users, not just tell them they're wrong or they don't understand the system. So there's a lot of things from a contractual and legal point of view that just didn't happen when it should have done with the amount of investment made from public money.
Angelica, so many things to learn from this. I'm guessing including around IT management, and we've heard some of Susi's perspectives there, but where do you see it from that kind of IT management point of view?
Yeah, Susi made some really good points especially from the user side of things. But I think this case really illustrates the need for comprehensive validation before you go and deploy an IT system, and especially when you talk about systems that are handling really sensitive financial transactions. You need to ensure that you have monitoring as well, and continuously built into the system lifecycle, as it were. And by that, I mean regular auditing, using technologies as well, like AI, to detect system malfunction, and of course, build user feedback sessions into these monitoring processes. You can't just roll out a system like that and walk away.
No, sure. And in the investigations that have come to light recently, and indeed we've been going on for ages, this isn't a new story, that it was clear that there were people involved in the IT who knew very well it wasn't working. They'd gone through some of the validation and found that it actually failed, and yet they were still under pressure to roll it out to the post office branches, maybe thinking, well, we'll fix it as we go along, it'll be okay. And obviously we saw the fallout. We're also commenting there, Angelica, about the amount of public money that had been poured into this. And of course, this whole issue that, when you've put over $1 billion worth of public money into a project, you're not going to just switch it off very simply. I suppose, Angelica, this comes down to the problem of very large contracts, especially those outsourced in the public sector.
Yeah, you can just, it's very difficult once you make such a massive financial commitment to just abandon a project like that. Despite this huge impact it has on users. And I think more broadly, there is an issue in the UK about being able to demonstrate taxpayers are getting value for money in IT projects, really. This is also not a new story. It's something I've covered for many years, also at Computer Weekly, where my good friends have been covering this Horizon story for many, many years. There was actually a report by the House of Commons in December that pointed out that many issues around the quality and the completeness of data on contracts, and also the departments don't do enough to ensure competition for contracts. So when something goes wrong like that, and in the case of Horizon, the government is literally with their hands tied.
Yeah, with public money along the way.
Exactly.
So, Susi, back here in the studio then, I was reading this LinkedIn post that you put together about this whole debacle, and you kind of conclude with your 3 T's. It's lovely that, you get the rule of thirds. It's a nice, pithy little trio of things that we can take away from this. So what are your 3 T's?
Yeah, so if you're a business and you're developing technology, and it doesn't really matter what level you're at or how much budget you have, think about these 3 things. So the first one is about testing. And testing's not the thing you do at the end, okay? You do it as you go along. You could call it service design as well. So it's really about bringing those users in early on. And if you don't have money, I've done testing of websites where you just, you get some people that represent your typical users, pay them a small amount of money, get them in a room and get them doing and testing the technology and seeing how it works. So at whatever level, you can do rounds of testing as you're developing the product. So that's the first T. The second one is transparent. So particularly when you're dealing with public money as a big company or a state institute, you need to be transparent when things are going wrong and why are you doing things? What are you doing to fix them? Owning up when things don't go according to plan. And the third one is about training. You really have to look after those end users. They're not idiots. They just need the support to really be able to do the work that they need to do with their technology. And when we're talking about business software, they haven't chosen it, okay? So they're not going out there and picking an app that they like to use. They're forced into using that technology, but you have to get them to, they might not love it, but at least like it and want to understand it and want to be on the side of it. And I don't know, some listeners of a certain age might know the expression computer says no. And we don't want to have that feeling when people are using our software that, the computer is telling us it can't do this and we're wrong and we're not smart enough to use this technology. That's all about training and support and empowering your users to really feel delight in the technology that they're using.
Yeah, so computer says no, or in this case, computer says you owe us £30,000 that you didn't owe us and you're going to prison. So, Angelica, let's just wrap this one up with you then, and we'll do some more chat in the podcast extra. But the human side of project management, and we've heard there the 3 T's, all of them with that human tinge from Susi, and you're very interested in this, Angelica, aren't you?
Yeah, I think as well as the technical aspects that Susi very well pointed out, I think it's important to understand the impacts on individuals in a situation like this. And I think that's where very thorough IT due diligence comes in. So doing due diligence means vetting the systems and the companies that will implement the systems very thoroughly, but also understanding the ethical considerations and also, very importantly, having safeguards in place against any potential negative impacts on people. It's about being proactive rather than reactive, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Well, let's carry on this conversation for some of our all of our subscription listeners. By the way, folks, if you want to subscribe, I'm afraid we have to keep the lights on somehow, so we're going to ask you for a bit of money, $10 per month. And for your subscription, you get extra chat with Angelica, who's on form. You can hear her there. And, of course, Susie here in the studio. And I want to find out much more about brand management and how you could mitigate scandals like these, if there's any way back, and so on. And also, what we're going to do in the podcast extra is pick up on the discussions we had last week about AI regulation, and we've picked out a top expert who has some amazing things to take us through and a few things to think about in AI regulation. So there we are. That's coming up in the podcast extra. You can access it for $10 a month. Your podcatcher should make it relatively easy for you to access it, but you can also go to our website. That's somewhereonearth.co. 2 buttons. The one on the left is to subscribe. The one on the right is to donate. Thank you, folks. All right, then. We love our listeners, all of our listeners, even those who don't subscribe. We love all of you. And that isn't something they've made me say out of some kind of desperate platitude or anything. Honestly, I mean that because, really, pretty much the first time I sat at a microphone all those many years ago, and I went on this old contraption that we used to have called radio. Ever since then, I've so strongly believed that there's no point in doing any of it, really, if there isn't an audience to talk to. So you matter, dear audience. Without you listening, it's like trying to clap with just one hand. So we want your voice memos. We want your non-voice messages. We just want your approval. Look, I know I'm sounding a bit needy in these early days. Hopefully you can bear with me. So you can just imagine, anyway, how all of us on this team did a little happy dance when a mini radio drama, no less, dropped from esteemed listener Floyd Kennedy, who, by the way, is listener subscriber number 79. Her radio piece needs no introduction. Actually, that was quite a long introduction, wasn't it? Anyway, whatever. Picture the scene, right? We're in the doctor's surgery, and the doc is running a little bit late.
Hello, Mrs. Doherty.
I'm a bit early for my checkup.
Oh, that's all right. But Dr. Singh is running late today. We had a couple of emergencies. Do you mind waiting?
Not at all. I'm not in a hurry. And I've got a podcast all lined up on my phone to listen to.
Podcast? Do you listen to podcasts?
I certainly do, don't you?
Oh, yes, I love them, but I didn't think people like you would be listening to them.
Is that so? May I ask why not?
Excuse me?
I said, may I ask why not? Why wouldn't I, or people like me, be listening to podcasts? Aren't they for everyone?
Oh, yes. I just.
What? Come on, out with it. You didn't think older people like me would be up with the latest things like podcasts, did you?
Well, I just thought. Oh, to be honest, Mrs. Doherty, I didn't think at all. It just slipped out. I'm so sorry. Of course you could be listening to podcasts at any age. What is it this time? What are you following? Would I like it?
Oh, possibly. Are you interested in the way modern technology is affecting us all over the world?
Gosh, that sounds a bit grand, a bit maybe too specialist for me.
What sort of podcasts do you listen to then?
Well, I like the ones when the comedians get together and they make up stuff.
Well, plenty of those to keep you entertained.
Aye, but I am interested in the technology, just, in a very, I don't really understand it kind of a way. I'd love to learn more about it, but it's so, I don't know, technical. More for cleverer people than me.
Some of it, yes, I'd agree. But I tell you why I like this one. It's because they pick up on something that's emerging or developing, whatever you like to call it, and they interview proper experts who can explain it. They break it down within reason and talk about whether it's having a positive effect on various communities or maybe if they can see problems that we need to be aware of. I just like to stay informed.
What's it called?
Somewhere on Earth podcast. And that's what it does. It looks at what's going on in the techie-related stuff somewhere on Earth.
Such as?
Could be Kenya, or Brazil, or Mongolia, or Middle England, anywhere. You should try it. I don't think you'd find it too hard to understand.
Wasn't there a programme on the BBC that used to do that? Gareth Mitchell. Yes, same team. The BBC went on a money-saving rampage and closed it down, so they started up independently. So you listened to Digital Planet? My brother did, and I would just happen to overhear sometimes. Didn't dare get any closer. He would tease me. Brothers, eh? They need a dose of their own medicine sometimes. Tell me about it. Oh, excuse me. Yes? Yes, she's here, Dr. Singh. Okay, I'll send her up. Mrs. Doherty, he's ready for you now. Thank you. See you later. Somewhere on Earth, maybe.
Oh, that's so good. Floyd Kennedy, right there, who put that little drama together for us. And for you cynics out there who think, I bet they wrote that for her and just made her do that. Honestly, we didn't. And the reason you know that we didn't is because it wouldn't have been that good. So, Floyd, thank you for sending that over. So, dear listener, if you want to send in your mini radio dramas, we, of course, would absolutely love them. So, the very least you can do is leave us like a little voice message. If Floyd can write a radio drama, then I think the least some of you can do. Come on, just leave us a little voice memo on our WhatsApp. It is code 44 7486 329 484. 7486 329 484. And just by a very lucky coincidence, Susie in the studio here, you in a previous life, earlier in your career, you had some involvement in radio drama yourself. So
I did.
What did you make of that?
I thought Floyd has set the bar very, very high. Great recording. The voices were absolutely gorgeous. I love the Scottish accent. They could have maybe put some custom music to put your da 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 sting. Yeah. That would be beautiful. So next time, original music composition makes a real big difference to podcasts. But a fantastic, very heartwarming effort. So I actually worked on a drama called The Archers, which is quite well known to British listeners. It's a sort of country tale of farming folk. But unfortunately, one of the actors died in the studio while I was working there, but I didn't do it.
You can't leave that story hanging.
No, that's for the bonus.
Right. Oh, that's so harsh, putting that in the bonus. That's okay. We'll probably get a few subscribers just listen to that story. I don't want to know, how did somebody die in a studio? That I know you had no involvement. Don't sue me. We're not suggesting anything. Final word from you, Angelica, and we need to go. So, did you enjoy the drama there? Did you feel?
I'm just delighted. And have I heard it right? Did you put out a challenge out there?
No, we didn't. Floyd just sent it in.
No, but you challenged our listeners.
Well, I said just a voice memo would be nice, and wasn't quite expecting to get that back again. So we loved it so much we played it in. And Floyd, by the way, has her own podcast, and the name of the podcast is Am I Old Yet? So that's Floyd's podcast.
Oh, that's so nice.
Am I Old Yet? Yeah, so do check that out as well. So I think we've done all the business, apart from, very importantly, Susie, as you're an esteemed guest on this programme, we can offer you a listener/subscriber number.
I'm very excited. Could I have the mystical number of 777?
Right, let me look it up. It's unallocated. I was going to allocate it. We just need to very quickly just pull the SUDS committee together. Anya, who's now back in the control space, can Susie have 777? It would be awkward if not. Yeah, why? Do you love large, wide-bodied Boeing 2-engine airplanes?
No, it's a very, very mystical number. And in the old days of CDs, I put out an album in a limited edition of 777.
Oh, okay. Was that a good enough reason, Anya? Does that get through the committee? What about Stevie over there next to you, audio engine? Yeah, Stevie's giving a thumbs up. Angelica, you could screw this up by vetoing it. Are you going to use any power of veto, or are we going to pass that through for Susie?
No, I was going to ask her why the 777, but I'm satisfied.
Good. As long as that answer satisfies you, otherwise we can't approve it.
So you must be moving on to 4 digits soon anyway.
We will do that. At some point. It'll take some time, but we're working on it. Okay, that is granted. That's a big moment there right here on the podcast. We'll do a few other listener subscriber numbers as well very soon, in other words, when we get round to it. So just keep suggesting them, folks, and we'll do a whole kind of batch of them. Okay, right, what do I need to tell you? I've given you the WhatsApp. The email is hello@somewhereonearth.co, and we're on social media. Just search for us, Somewhere on Earth Podcast, the Global Tech Podcast. You should find us just about okay there. Audio this week has been by Stevie Arnoldi here at Lanson's Team Farner. The production manager is Liz Toohey. We've had Susie and Angelica in the studio with us today. The editor is Anja Likterovich, and my name apparently is Gareth, the last time I looked. Thanks for listening. See you soon. Bye.